Okay, so we are live now. 30 people have joined us right now, and well, that's good. So, welcome everyone. Today we are here for the Flutter 101 workshop, and today we have Mukund Jogi with us, who is a project manager and a mobile team lead at Seven Span, and he has been leading the team. He has been working on Flutter from a huge 6 years of experience he has in working in Flutter language, and he will be guiding you how to start Flutter, what are the resources, and giving you a basic introduction of the Flutter development today. So over to you, Mukund, and you can introduce yourself, and then we can start. Am I audible, Mukund? Hello. Guys, can you please comment that if you are able to hear me or not? Mukund is not able to hear me, and can you please comment and tell us if. Okay, so am I audible? I am audible. Let me tell Mukund. Guys, sorry for the issue happening, and we are trying to solve the issue. Mukund, can you turn on your microphone? Sorry for the issue. Let's be with Mukund for 2 minutes, and he will be back.
Hello.
Yes, Mukund, now you are audible.
Yeah. Okay. Now it is audible. Just hold on a second. Like I
Yes,
was
sure.
not able to hear what you had a previous talk about.
Sure, sure.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir, you are audible. A little lag in your audio is coming.
Okay. So myself, I've been working. I've been working as an Android developer and also as a Flutter developer. Like past more than 6 years. My career as an Android developer. Later on, I did work with two of the main product companies. I was in the product part over that, and working. I started working on Click Heroes, developed some of the modules. Later on, I did move to Vastra app. That was also a product of the company. Started learning Flutter and joined Seven Span as an senior Android. And after completing those things, learning and execution, I was I as a team lead I was promoted being a team lead. Now I'm working as a project manager projects, working with the backend team, front end team, design team, and all those things. So, so that's the introduction from my side, and I've been working deep into Flutter. My team where I do work is consists of like more than 15 of the developers in Flutter, working deep into Flutter, and each and everyone is involved with various of the skills. We are connected to uh, we are socially connected with Flutter community also, and working on that. I hope you I hope that you have joined on the Saturday weekend, like during the free time with the Flutter session. So I'm hope you all are eager to join there.
Mukund, can you? Your voice is not clear as I am getting comments. A
Okay.
little lag is happening. A little cracking is happening in your voice. It would be great if you can correct it.
Okay. Okay. Like network issue. Network is finally connected with from my side.
Yes, your voice is audible. It's just that for 1 second or little moment, it getting cracked or anything.
Oh,
As I
okay, fine. I will be speaking somewhat louder so that it's audible to you all of you. Well,
oh, oh, so your voice is not audible. It's lagging. Uh, Hi Mukund, are you able to hear me? As your voice is again not audible. Still not audible. Your mic is off.
okay, now is it audible?
Yes, sir. Now it's working fine. It's
Okay, fine.
audible.
Okay, okay. So we'll be starting on Flutter beginners, and like we'll be like I will be introducing what is Flutter, why do we need to use Flutter, what is that, how we can develop a app in Flutter, and we'll be doing some of the deep not so deep, but we'll be doing some of the introduction part on the Flutter, and like creating a small app, and we'll be working on that. So shall we start it? Okay, so starting the introduction time. So you all guys know who is starting where starting the introduction without this man is like something that we miss to start. Okay, so today's agenda is like introduction to Flutter, the three W's with Flutter. Why should we use Dart? What is Dart? Set up a Flutter app. Set up the Flutter environment in the in the project, and create a first project. Understanding widget and widget tree. What is Flutter? Creating a simple application, and later on moving to Pubspec and state management. Okay, so let us start with that introduction to Flutter. Flutter is a toolkit that helps you to build beautiful performance mobile app for Android and iOS. Not just Android and iOS, we can develop apps for many of the devices. Like we can create the builds of for the many of the devices, like Mac OS, Linux OS, and uh, Windows OS. So we can create all those things. We can also build a web app also. Other than that, it uses a common programming language, that is Dart programming language. It is really easy. When I started learning Flutter, it was really easy to start with Flutter. And later on when I did move to Flutter, from Android to Flutter. So I was like, many of the developers do fear from jumping from one step to another. So I was also fearing about that how I will be starting with Flutter and how I will be moving on with it. So that I started learning that it is very easy and very like we can in Android. If I compare with Android and iOS, we need to separately mention all those UI part, and uh, later on all those business logic apart from UI part. So we can develop the same UI part in the same screen itself, in the same file itself, and also we can implement the business logic also. Like managing the business logic is a in for the big apps or the long taking apps, it's a separate task. But if we are using for a short app or a demo app, then business logic itself can be implemented over there. So with Flutter, you can build apps that look and feel native. Like if we build an app, we will be the same feeling that will be provided by the Flutter builds will be similar to the native apps itself. So the native apps and the Flutter apps do look similar to itself. Apart from that, we can like this means that whenever you are developing an app in Flutter, it just feels like that the app is built in the native environment or the native develop with the native development tools. And Flutter is actually really fast. Like develop the If we talk about the development part, if we talk about the processing part, if we talk about the uh, execution part, it is really easy and really fast. Apps built with Flutter are typically faster than apps that are built with the native development. Like if we build an Android app, and similarly with the same UI and the same logical part, if we develop a Android app, so those native and Flutter app, if you compare it, speed of the app or the speed of the execution of the app is very good. Apart from using a native development app. So why is it so? Because this has a hot reload technique. Like if we are developing an app in a native, you need to by default run it in a environment that you need to install the build for it. First you need to implement the logical part, and then you need to just always wait for the installation part. Like Android also supports the hot run, but sometimes it does not support. Sometimes you need to install the build actually using the development kit, and later on you can run. So hot reload technique is what it does. It just implements the code changes that you have made, and code changes that can be integrated directly with the hot restart of the app. So this is what the introduction looks like for the Flutter. So if we move further with Flutter, why should we use Flutter? Why to learn Flutter? What is Flutter was introduced earlier. So why should we use Flutter? So the, like why to learn and why to implement and why to use. All of these things are integrated in this itself. Like you need to have a fast development, beautiful high performance speed, single code base for multiple platforms, open source, and it is free to use. So fast development speed, I explained it earlier. Beautiful and high performance apps are what those things like if you are building a high performance app, like if you are building a long term app, like it may take 3 to 4 months or a year, more than a year if you are building a product.
then you definitely need to implement in Flutter. Definitely you need to create it using Flutter. So what does it do? It has various of the material UI kits and various of the UI development kits that can be integrated directly, and that is very helpful, and that fascinates a developer to use the Flutter thing itself in their environment, because because it because all those widgets, all those things are very easy to use, very easy to implement. A single code base for multiple platform, like Flutter can build nowadays a multi-platform app. So if we are using a single platform, single code base, and developing a multi-platform app, then why shouldn't we use Flutter, right? Apart from that, it is open source and free to use. Like many of the languages are free to use, but Flutter is also free to use. Dart is also free to use. So there were open source contribution was also being done. Like we used to, when I heard about the Flutter, like it came to market, I was like not aware about that it has a large community also, that has a surplus of supports each and everywhere. So I was afraid that if I started learning Flutter and if I start to integrate, if I don't get the support over that, then how I can overcome? Like open source contributions were less at that time. So evolving from that, Flutter is now a stable. Flutter has many communities each and everywhere. So these are the things that are done from their side. And apart from that, the it is open source, and each and everyone can contribute it. So like I did explain that who for it it is for why to learn, but whom is for Flutter, like who can develop the skills, who can integrate the Flutter. So it is for developers of all skills, anyone who wants to build a beautiful app, high performance app, anyone who want to learn a new cross platform app. So the Flutter is for the all of the skill, all of the developer skills. Like any of the JS developer can work on it. Any of them can learn, but the basic necessity is like they should at least have the clear concept about the Dart. Like the basic concept, if are clear in Dart, then they can directly implement or create an app in Flutter. Apart from that, it is for building the high performance apps. So those who are looking for high performance apps, like if you have a single code base, if you are creating a web app, and in future, if the client requirement is there that you may be needing a mobile app, then better try it Flutter web, and later on you can build it with the mobile app too. So there are some of the configuration changes according to that, like maintaining the screen size and all those things. So you can integrate on that. Apart from that, it is anyone who want to learn it about the cross platform apps. So anyone can learn about it. Okay. So I hope that like three W's what I explained it's understood by all those two. Like, and uh, what is Flutter? That is, I already explained about it. It is developed by the main thing that who developed Flutter. It is a cross-platform toolkit developed by Google. So many of the developers are less aware about it, like who created Flutter. Like you just start working on Flutter, and who just created. Many of the developers miss it. So be clear about it. Like it is developed by Google, developed by Google. So Google keeps on introducing various changes about it. Recently, they introduced Flutter 3 3.0. So that has various of the changes that, like earlier we used to use null safe null safe operators and null safety for maintaining the null safety. So they eradicated it, removed the total null safe evolution. So now the platform that Flutter supports is totally null safe. And apart from this, I already mentioned that it is for the development of various native mobile web app and desktop app. So those are the things that are supported by Flutter based on the that programming. Like you need to learn about the that programming language first of all, and later on you can introduce it and you can learn and integrate it. So I hope I'm not going too fast on that. I'm not able to see your any of your comments or other things. So that is what is Flutter, and that are what are the three W's that we introduce it, and you need to know it specifically about the Flutter. Okay, moving on to next part. What do you need to get started? So many of the developers ask that, yes, I got the introduction about the Flutter, but how can I start with it? Like now I want to start it just now. How can I get it? How can I get started with it? So the main concept behind it is like you just need a computer with Mac OS, Windows or Linux. Any of those things will be work. The Dart SDK, the SDK is SDK that you can download from the Flutter, Flutter website, implement it and download it. Also, you can get the Dart SDK like installing the get dart.dev. So the SDK is available over there. Also, a code editor based on like it should be a code editor like VS Code or Android Studio. VS Code is mostly used by many of the developers, and Android Studio is used by the Android developers that were that were using it earlier. So so either of you can take of that like a VS Code or Android Studio. VS Code is widely used by the web developers too. So React Native developers or the native developers, and also the Android Studio. Any of that you can take them on. Android Studio earlier, before Android Studio, I did work with Eclipse too. Eclipse framework, the IDE. So Eclipse is not supported, does not support the Flutter framework. I don't know, but I haven't tried it with the Eclipse. If I don't remember, if I remember, like none of the developers nowadays do use Eclipse also. So moving to the next slide, creating your first project with Flutter. Okay, so let's check how we'll be creating the first project with Flutter. Okay, I hope it is visible. Okay, so starting with Flutter, uh, like how to create a project in Flutter. So we'll be starting a new project. So this is Android Studio ID. I do use Android Studio ID. Many of them can use it with the Flutter. Sorry, VS Code itself. So starting with it, I can create. You can see the Android Studio ID. I already installed it. I will not be showing all those procedure. So yeah, I can create a new Flutter project with it. So it will be first of all it will be asking me which of the SDK part I I need to use it. So these are the SDKs that are available with me uh, in my dashboard or in my Flutter library. So these are SDKs that are downloaded. So moving further, I will be using the Flutter. We are creating a Flutter app not the Dart app. So we will be moving further with the Flutter app. So keeping it simple, so I will be creating it itself took a path. Also, it itself took a folder name. Also, it will be creating the module name itself, and I will be developing it for just Android and iOS, not for Linux. We can select all those the native part that we all those platforms that is available with it. So we'll be if we want to create just the Android or iOS, then we won't be selecting this any of those things. And apart from that, choosing a language that is basically it chooses by default latest language. So in iOS it will be choosing the Swift, and in Android Kotlin. This is why does it ask? The basic question is about that. Why does it ask? It asks for if you are developing any of the native part in the app, or if you are mentioning any of the native part, like developing an app in Android or developing an app needs subjective any of those changes over that. So so developing all those things, it just asks that will it be developed in code, will it be handled in Kotlin or Swift. Apart from that, it asks us about this project type. Project type, it does take plugin. We can create a plugin also. We can create a package also. We can create a module, and all those things are supported on that. Okay, so now right now we will be creating a application. So it's also asked a description. It is better to write over here the description about that.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but can you please stop screen sharing and screen share again as the screen is freezed?
Okay, sorry. Okay, now the screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay, fine. Okay, just hold on for that. Like it is just downloading all those things. Apart from that, it will be creating the Flutter app over here. So Flutter for beginners. So it has created the Flutter app. So moving to the development part, how we can integrate and how we can develop it, all those things. So here is the main file. Sorry, here is the main file that main.dat consists of. That how my app will run on that, and how I'll be integrating all those things over here. So those are the things. These are the widgets that I can develop it, and later on I can run on that. So I will be showing all those details also over here, that how we'll be focusing on, and how we'll be running on. So I was just introducing when the screen got freeze. It got due to the because the one of the dialog box was appearing on the screen, so it got freeze. I'm sorry for that, but this is how we can create an app in Flutter, and create a project in Flutter, and later on how the app integration will be done. I will be showing you all guys also that. Okay, okay. So that was about creating your Flutter first Flutter project. Now moving on further, this is how we feel that like, is that so simple, like creating a Flutter project. So other devs that are working on those other projects, they also feel like, okay, like हम भी कर लेंगे यार. Okay. So moving on to detailed part in Flutter. Like before starting the project, we must be aware about the Flutter widget that we are introducing it, like the Flutter widget also. Apart from that, many of the like state how we can integrate the Pubspec, how we can use the plugin in the Pubspec, and how we can integrate all those things. So those are the things that can be carried out. So we will be learning about the Flutter widget. What is basically a Flutter widget? Flutter widget is basically everything in the Flutter is basically a widget. So what is widget? Widget is we can say a view. Widget is, we can say, a UI. Widget is something we can say a screen. So all those things is widget. Everything is a widget in Flutter. So how those widgets are created in Flutter? First of all, if we create a basic root widget, the root widget consists of various types of widgets in it. So like this is the root widget where the app will start. Later on, the after introducing to the app, we will be having three of the screens. If we are having a three of the screens, like the navigation from these three of the screen is like the first screen goes to another screen, and its child screen. Apart from that, its child screen also goes to two of the other screens. So if we count it like a screen, then screen is also a widget. If we count it like a widget, uh, only the widget part or the child part. Like if you are aware about the some of the widgets in it, like I will be talking about the widgets also in detail in further. But this is how the tree works. Like it just creates its roots deep down. The root widget is just a single one, so it creates its branches deep down, and branches are branches are spread out throughout the app. Okay, so that is what the nested to create a complex UI. Okay, so widget can be used to create a nested complex UI. So we can just navigate from one screen to other and other from other screen to two other screens and all those things. So that is what widget do. That is what the screen do. That is what like any other tree do. The widget tree do. Okay. So basics of the widget. There are many types of different widgets. There are numerous widgets available in Flutter. There are surplus like if we forget about the text buttons and all those things, we can create the text button on all those things dynamically. We can also create a customized one. So these are some of the module. These are some of the common widgets that are included in that we include or that the normal Flutter project does include. Like it does it a text widget, it does it button, containers, rows and columns. Rows and columns are for the rows and columns takes an input as in child as multiple child. So multiple child. So it does take a it does not take a single child, it takes children. So we can implement multiple of the widgets. Row will be specifying the widgets in the horizontal way and columns will be specifying the widgets in the vertical way. So container, text button and all those things, they can be used as a child of the same widget. Okay. So let's check that in code, how we will be integrating in the same thing. Okay. Okay, is my screen visible? Somebody can pop into the. Okay, thank you. Okay, so okay, now the font size is also visible, I guess. Okay, thank you. So starting with it, the base where we can run the app is with starting with the main app, the main function use. If you have learned about Java, the main function we generally use the main function to start the app or to run of the program. So here also the main function does the same thing. Like it is the starting point of the app. So where you can create a widget, where you can introduce the widget itself over there. So widgets are of specifically two different types. One is stateless widget and one is the stateful widget. What is stateless and stateful widget? It is like a stateful widget is somewhat where we can give a state to like it just get update if we are providing some of the data or if they are providing any of the state update to that. Stateless widget is something like it will be holding a static value. Just if you pass it from the parent widget to the stateless widget, it will be passing on and it will be showing to the current current widget over there. So those are the things. Those are the types of widget, basic types of widget, and normally it just carried out the two widgets over there. Okay, so like it already just creates a one of the demo itself over here. So how it will work, I'll be showing you. So let us take a look about it. It first of all took a material app. A material app is the base root of the app where we can create the numerous of the like many of the it does have many of the params over there. Like let us check. Okay. So what it does that many of the params over that. Like if you want to introduce a theme, you can introduce the theme over here. If you want to introduce a dark theme, so you can introduce the dark theme over here. You can introduce a contrast. any of those things can be introduced over here. It does it many of the params introduce itself in the material widget. So, so the normal app does have the title, it does have the theme data, it does have the primary color that what type of color we'll be using, and it just create the home page like where will be which of the page will be shown first. So this is the home page. It is mentioned as a stateful widget. It extends the stateful widget. So what does the stateful widget do is it creates a state for it. Like every time this widget will be initialized, this state will be created, and when the state will be created, the instance of the page that is using that state will be evoked, and the page page state will be refreshed itself. So these are the things that can be used in the app. So what does the stateful widget introduce, or what does the stateful widget contain of? It creates it uses a build method, that is the override build method, where we can mention all those scaffold sorry, not the scaffold, where we can mention all those views about that what it will be using. Here here in the default app, they have used a scaffold. A scaffold is where it does hold. Scaffold has also many types of params that are integrated inside itself in it. So in scaffold is the basic app where we can introduce the app bar. We can create the body of the app. Like below app bar, there is a body of the app. If you want to introduce a floating button, there also we can introduce. There also we can keep it. If you want to keep a bottom navigation bar, then also we can use it. We can keep the bottom sheet also. So these are the things that is supported in the scaffold. That is, scaffold is a widget. So I talked about earlier that each of the things that is introduced in Flutter is itself a widget. So app bar is also a widget, a center is also a widget, a column is also a widget. Center is for the alignment of the widget. The column is for the creating a vertical stack of the widgets, and a floating action button if you are aware about what is floating action button. So it is quite simple to integrate the Flutter app with the numerous of widgets, and let's check how does it work. Like it will take some time to start, but we need to wait about that. Let it start. So the main benefit about it, like if we are using if we are using an iOS device, if we are creating a Flutter app, then it does support with the iOS simulator also. It does support with the Android simulator if it is available. So now I am available with the iOS simulator. So in meanwhile, it will start itself. Okay, so it will itself run over that. So it will take time because we have introduced over here the Linux part, the Mac OS part, the test. You can integrate the test widgets also, like how you can what is the expected output and what you can run on that. Apart from that, it created the web app over here. It create the folder for the Windows part. So you can create this many various app of the apps over here. The builds for this app, like you can create you can create a web app, you can create a Windows app, you can create the Linux app, iOS app, and also the Android app. Five of them are created over here itself. Okay, once it get started, I'll be showing you about that also. So we'll be moving further, and later on we'll be back on this part of itself over here. Okay. So moving on further, the the Flutter project do have many of the basic necessity. That is the Pubspec YML. What does Pubspec YML mean? Pubspec YML is a file that is used to define the dependencies used in the Flutter project. So what are the dependencies? Like why should we integrate the dependencies in the project? Why should we use it? And how it is helpful for the Flutter developer? So we will be looking on that. It includes, what does it include? Like it includes packages that your project depends on. Like earlier when I was creating a Flutter project, so it did ask for the creation of the package, the creation of the plugins, or creation of the any of those things. So it does take the package name if we are using any of the package in the Flutter app. So what does the package mean? Package means creation of the plugin or the dependency library that can be integrated in the app itself. So if we are not available with the customization, we can introduce the package to the Pubspec YML, and later on we can integrate the same thing in the app. So what does package do? The package specifies all those configurations in our app. It matches with the Flutter SDK, it matches with the Dart SDK, and later on it just consumes all those dependencies used in the Flutter SDKs and Dart SDKs, and later on it fits the environment that is available with the app, and it help us to uh, like help us to develop the app which is more flexible using the package. Like if we are creating a library that is default, that is available already as a package in flutter.dev or dart.dev, so pub.dev, sorry. So if we are using that thing, like if you are not a Flutter developer, if you are using any of the libraries, and if you try to develop the same library and then use it, you will be seeing that the app size or the build size increases. Why is it so? Because build size that we have integrated the for or we have integrated any of the libraries that is available just for our app, then it will be consuming those library part also. So avoiding that, we can introduce the package to the Pubspec YML, and later on directly using all those dependencies in the runtime of the app. So, what does Pubspec consume? What does Pubspec consist of? It consists of the name of the project, the description of the project, the dependencies that your project depend on, and the version of your project. Okay, so let's check about it. Okay, so here is it. What does it do is it takes the name of the project. We create the project name as Flutter Beginners. It, so the Flutter Beginners that is available over here will be the same. If we change over here, then it should also be changed over here. So in the whole app where we will be using the same extension as in file name, then it will be changed and the project may stop working. So avoid changing the names over here. Apart from that, it takes a description. So while creating the project, it asks us for the description, the name, and all those things. While like which of the versions your SDK will be using. So there's those things can be mentioned over here also. The description we can change over here. Like if we do have a very descriptive type mentions for the app, like we can mention the description over here. Like if we are available with the description of the app, publish to, like you can, if you want to just publish to a pub.dev. Pub.dev is where the packages are available. We'll be seeing further over here. Like we can use the packages that can be used for the dependencies. Okay, the version that was mentioned over there. Like, okay, now is it visible? Okay, now is it visible? The screen got stuck over that. Sorry for that. Uh, so, so what I mentioned before that, the name is mentioned over here in the Pubspec. This is the pubspec.yml file. So the name which is mentioned for the app is mentioned over here. Apart from that, the description is mentioned over here. The publish to, if we are publishing it to the pub.dev, then it is mentioned over. Then it is mentioned like in which public where it will be published, the version of the app. Like if we are using a semantic versioning, and we can just change over here and update all those dependents, all those versions in the app itself. The screen got stuck. Just hold on a second. Okay. The environment, the SDK that is being used, we are using right now 3.0, less than 3.0. So the SDK is mentioned over here, like 2.19 is currently being used. So all those things. So if we go about here, there are dependencies and there are Dave dependencies. What is the difference between this? Is the Dave dependencies is introduced for the developer side. Like when we are developing any of the app, then it will be helpful for us while development itself only. Like if we are using Flutter links is like it will be showing the warning part. It will be showing that here the dead code is used and all those things. So this is the package. This is itself also a package. Cupertino icons. This is for the iOS style icons. That if we are using any of the icons, it is for the specifically for the iOS style icons. So dependencies are the when we'll be creating a build form, then uh, when we'll be creating a build, then the dependencies will be used from here. These dependencies are used when we are developing the app. Okay. So that is there. They do have more of the difference, but we will be talking about it later. What type of Flutter if I mentioned it, like what type of Flutter environment related things will be used. It uses the material design that is used as a flag. So mention the flag as true. If we are using any of the assets, the asset file is where if we are using any of the asset, what is asset? Asset is basically if we are using any of the images. So here any of those things are not created right now. So if we are creating any of the assets, like if we are using any of the images, if we are using any of the fonts, any of those things, so we can mention over here asset colon, just hold on. If we are using any of the assets over here, so we can mention it like this. So asset colon, and later on any of the asset. Generally we do mention only the folder part, and later on the folder itself takes all those widgets, sorry, the images or the assets that are mentioned. We we can create fonts also. We can add the fonts also. If any of the fonts are added, then we can create one of the directory over here, folder over here, and later on we can integrate the fonts itself in those things. So we can use the fonts, the various types of fonts also. We can mention specification that if we are using any of those fonts, what type of the weight it will consume. Weight is basically used for the text field, that if the font, if we are using any of the font, then what kind of weight, like will it be showing bold, will it be showing light, or will it be showing small font. So that is what the weight consumes there. So this is the thing. If we mention any of the dependency over here, if we mention, if let us check with the update of this dependency. If we mention, uh, if we update this Cupertino icons, like it is consuming 1.0.5. So if we update or if we add any of the dependency, then we should be using this pub.get. Pub.get basically helps us to integrate the latest version over here. So what does it do is, like pub.get will be replacing all those pubs all those Cupertino icons like 1.0.2 and replacing it with 1.0.5. Generally, it does not replace it because we are using the a flag icon over here, so it does not replace it. It just keeps itself rated in the Pubspec, Pubspec log, and it will be using it for the further any of them wherever it is needed. So the pub spec is. Pub upgrade is like it will be upgrading each of the things mentioned in the dependency. So it will upgrade the pub upgrade. If we click on the pub outdated generally takes on all those outdated things that are mentioned in the pub spec, and later on it will be replacing it with the latest one. Flutter Docker is for if you want to check about the any of the errors, if you want to check about any of the configuration that we are missing. So those are the things that can be checked in the Flutter Docker. Okay. So what we mentioned in the previous slides, like it takes a widget. So what it did is it took a scaffold. The scaffold is all of the widget over here, the full of the screen. I hope it is visible. Okay, fine. It is visible. So it will be taking all of the screen over here. So whenever the screen is introduced, it will be introduced as scaffold. It took an app bar. App bar took the title widget. The widget title was Flutter demo. Okay, so it took the widget title from here widget.title. So what it where from where did it got Flutter demo homepage? If we change over here, we'll be directly changing all those things itself in the file. Okay. So why did it do? Why did it just integrate, or why did it just integrate directly? So what did it do is like I just made it run app with the main.dat. The main.dat is mentioned over here. The main.dat file. So I did took the main.dat file to integrate the app. Later on, the run app, what it did do, it just hot reloaded. It just took my changes in the app that I mentioned over here. I just took the changes that I did, like Flutter homepage, Flutter demo homepage was there. So I removed the homepage part, and later on, I just updated with just up, just remove this, and if we write home and just hot reload it, so it will be just reflecting back on the screen. So it will take some time because the due to heat, some of the my PC is getting stuck, my laptop is getting stuck. So what it will do is it will just hot reload it and just publish it over here. And moving on further, to widgets, it took it took a center app bar, then a center, the whole body as a center. See, it reflected over here Flutter demo home. So it took a whole body as center. So it took the full of the width and center. Later on, it took a column. The column consisted of the main axis alignment. The column has various configuration. Like it has main axis alignment. Main axis consists of for the column, it is a vertical axis. So main axis alignment it took as a center. So it will all those things which will be displayed in the column will be displayed in the center. Cross axis alignment is something what is horizontal move. So if we specify any of those things, that will be considered as cross axis alignment in for the vertical for the horizontal part. So it took the children. I earlier mentioned that row and column do take a children as the widget, so it can consume multiple of the widget in the tree itself. So it mentioned the text. The text had you have pushed the button this many times. Up. And other than that, we mentioned a counter text. What does a counter text do is it will be holding the counter. So where will be getting this counter? It will be getting from the integer counter that is we have mentioned is over here. So what it will do and where it will be calling from. So it took the floating action button. In the floating action button is in the scaffold part. It is in the scaffold tree. So the child over here is in the scaffold tree, the floating action button. What the floating action button will do, it has a tooltip. If we uh, if we just go over here and hold on the tooltip, then it will be taking as an increment, and it has an icon that is mentioned as a child as a plus icon. So we can see the plus icon over here. What it will do is on press it will call an increment counter. Increment counter is a method that is mentioned over here. So it returns a void. What increment counter will do it will be set state and reflecting it with the counter plus plus. So set state, what does set state do is it will be calling a stateful widget with the set state. It already the my home page is stateful widget. So the set state can be integrated in the stateful widget. So it will be reflecting whole of the UI. Like whenever we are using set state, it will be reflecting whole of the UI over here and reflecting on the screen. So if you press this button, it it pushed it to counter plus plus and then reflected the whole of the screen. If we reflect it, so it will push that button and it will be reflected over the screen. So this is how the app works. This is how the app works with the widgets, multiple widgets. So I'll be showing you what what we can do with the how we can handle all those widgets specifically when we are doing an API call, when we are doing some of the things that is from the other widgets too. So let us move to that part. I hope everyone is getting about this, like why we are using Flutter. Okay, so I did talk about the state, like why do we need to use the state, and why how does it just quickly get updated to the screen? So it does get quickly updated because of the state. So what is state and how can we manage it? State management is something where we can manage the state of the Flutter app. The state of an app is the data data that changes over the time. Like for example, it is the state for a shopping cart. That app might include the items in the cart and the total price. So whenever we are just clicking on the cart button in the app, it just get reflected if we on the screen. If we are using a cart button, just get reflected whenever the state is the it is because the state of the app is getting updated, and the cart button reflected the count also of the cart, the, the items in the cart, and also does reflect the price in the cart. So that is because of the state that is managed. There are few reasons why you might want to use a state in your Flutter app. That because to make the app responsive, like whenever the user clicks on any of the button, the user the app should be responsive. If I am adding anything to the cart, then the app should be responsive with the items also. It should be reflecting by the change in the price also. If it is not there, then the state won't be working on that, and later on it will be a confusion for the user that if I am adding the item in the widget and it is not getting updated, and I need to refresh each and every time the app, and it will be the something really fussy and really confusing for the user. To make app easier to test, like if you are managing various state, if you are managing the state over there, then it will be really easy to test the app. like uh, like if you are pressing any of the counter button and we are just holding the app and it does not update it, then it will be really useless for to maintain it. And to make your app easier to maintain what? Maintain state. Maintain, like if the state is reflected, then it can be maintained easily, and it is really helpful for us. So what kind of state management options are available? So we already did go through that. The app uses the state. Earlier I did show you the example. So the app uses the state. So state is basically what the set state, the app used the set state. Set state, what it did is it just reflected whole over the screen. But each and every time, if we are reflecting whole over the screen, if we are using an Instagram and if you press the like button, if it will be reflecting whole of the screen, and each time you will be watching a reel, and the reel part all over the screen will be just get refreshed. So each and every time you will be pressing a like button, each time the screen will be getting the refresh. So to avoid that, we can use this many options. Like we can use block, we can use provider, we can use river code. These are the state management options. Like we can integrate any of the state management, and later on we can integrate to integrate to our app and make it more easy to use and more convenient to use in the files that we are using. Okay, so moving further, I hope that you all got it, that what I explained to you. Okay. So if you didn't understand it, you can always refer to documentation of Flutter. So conclusion, moving on to the conclusion. So at the end, I do conclude it. Like Flutter, moving on to conclusion, like Flutter is more powerful cross-platform UI toolkit that can be used to build a beautiful high-performance mobile app. It is easy to learn and integrate, and on the large-scale application. It is also, if you are looking for the, you can build a native app similar to a native-looking app, and it is a great option. So resources for this is what I mentioned over here. So resources are that we are using or we can integrate from here. Like for Flutter website, you can go through the flutter.dev. For Flutter documentation, you can go to flutter docs.flutter.dev. For tutorials, you can visit here. And for Flutter community, you can visit over here. So concluding, so do you have any questions?
Awesome memes and awesome gifs you have added in your PT for the fun. Uh, so, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And
So Ayushi says she doesn't have any question.
do we get certificate? I think yes, yes. Well, your certificate we will be sending to your mailbox as soon as possible.
Okay, any more questions?
Uh, Vivek is asking how many questions do we need to do for doing a fresher job to get a
Okay,
job as a fresher developer?
okay. So, so as a fresher, like it does not need any of the project that is completed, but you should at least try it with various type of state management, various type of widgets. You should at least have basic knowledge about it, and you can get a start as a fresher in a company. So I hope I answered you.
Gulshan is asking, do we need both Android and iOS device separate for testing?
Like you, for testing part, if you are available with the simulator, then it is okay. But if you are releasing an app, then you definitely need a iOS and Android device. And also for checking the and iOS build specifically, you do need a Mac OS, so you can integrate and check in that. So it is definitely needed at the end if you are releasing an app.
Yes, is asking, the logic and UI description both are in the same files.
Yeah, you can use the logic and UI description both in the same file, but it is better to avoid writing the logical or the business logic part in the same file. You can manage it using the block if you are aware about it. If we go deep dive into Flutter, then we can integrate using the block. So the logical part is mentioned over there, and there we can integrate the logical part, and there we from there we can reflect it using the UI part also. I hope, Yash, I answered your question.
So I hope all. Any specific tips if using VS Code instead of Android Studio?
There isn't any specific tips. You can just integrate with VS Code also. So VS Code is available with various of the functionalities. So it is not just the case that you should specifically use Android Studio. You can use VS Code also. There is no issue.
Uh, Wakar is asking, is there any other editor than VS Code and Android Studio?
Okay. So I didn't use any other thing about apart from VS Code and Android Studio. So I don't think so that we can develop it in any of the other platform.
So if there are any other questions, you can ask, guys, and else we can end the session. Yash is saying thank you to you, and thanks a lot from my side too for giving your precious time and explaining in such an awesome way. And
I hope you all of them enjoyed, and let's connect over here. So this is my LinkedIn, and this is the Seven Span Club. The Seven Span Club is where I do work, and we are we in the Seven Span Club regarding any of those technology. If you are working, there are various developers we working in Seven Span that are available for you to answer. Like it is just a community, more than a community for each of the developer. So you can just answer, you can just question, or you can just inquire about it, any of those things, and each of the developer is eager to answer over that, and you can just connect over that, and it is much more helpful for the developers. So any of those technologies, like if you are using JS, if you are using a Flutter developer, if you are Android, specifically Android, iOS, or many of the branches are available over there. So you can connect me over there also.
awesome, sir, awesome. I will also connect using this.
Yeah,
So it was a great session with you, sir, and I think there aren't any more questions. Thank you guys for staying till the end, and special thanks to Mukund sir for explaining us, and so that we can get started with the Flutter development.
it is special things to thank to the community that you are you that Mayank is exploring and taking the team forward with him also. So apart from this, like you all are using your Saturday, the evening night also, that is specifically an evening night with the session, and such a boring session like me that's just concluding each of the things. So I specifically kept the memes for you all guys, so you won't get bored at the end. So that's what I did try. I hope you all got the idea about the Flutter, and hope you will be moving on forward with the Flutter.
Yes, it was an awesome evening with you, and I think now we can end the session. Everyone is saying thank you to you, and special thanks from my side too. And we will
Yeah,
surely connect you at the Seventh Span Club and LinkedIn also.
yeah, sure, sure. Okay,
Uh, I think we can
have
end
a
the
good evening.
broadcast now.
Yeah, have a good evening, everyone. Bye bye.
Good evening, sir. Bye bye.